Question number 5, Alfred Ngaro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Social Development. What commitments has the government made to reduce the number of child assaults in New Zealand?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, since 2004, the number of child assault substantiated physical abuse has risen from 1,820 to 3,086 in 2011. Assaults against children are simply unacceptable. Under our Better Public Services targets, we have committed to not only stopping the continued growth in child assaults, but also reducing the current number by 5%. This is an ambitious target, reducing this number to below 3,000 when it's projected to reach 4,000, but simply one we must achieve.
Alfred Ngaro.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. Given this target is ambitious, what actions will the government take to achieve this?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, these Better Public Services targets set clear, focused goals, ensuring a whole-of-government response with agencies really working together, and I think that's a big part of the change that we're seeing. And we are already seeing a difference made in, for example, more social workers in schools, as well as workshops teaching health and education professionals to better detect physical abuse, as well as multi-agency response to those children that are leaving hospitals. But there is no doubt about it that we have a lot of work to do.
Jacinda Ardern.
Supplementary to the Minister. Will she develop a target specifically on reducing child poverty, including for those in the homes of the working poor? And if not, why not?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, I do not think that living in poverty is an excuse to assault your child. And so while we are working at the child assaults and bringing that down, I think to simply say that to fix child poverty would fix child assaults is simply wrong.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Jacinda Ardern.
Mr. Speaker, I made sure that my question was very straight and quite tightly confined.
Order. Point of order is being raised.
Any of the inferences that the Minister has assumed. I simply asked if she was working to develop a target on reducing child poverty.
Speaking to the point of order, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Just because the main question is quite specific on the commitments government has made to reduce the number of child assaults, I linked it to that main question on child assaults and answered appropriately.
I think, in order and fairness, that wasn't an unreasonable conclusion for the Minister to come to, because the primary question is very much about government's commitment to reduce the number of child assaults. And for the Minister to interpret the member's question in relation to child assaults, therefore, was not unreasonable. I don't think I can ask the Minister to, because she clearly, in answering, indicated they wouldn't be having targets around reducing child poverty, and so the answer seemed reasonable to me. Question number, point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to dispute the fact that this question has been transferred, and the fact that some good speakers ruling, including 152.1 on that subject, sir. But I would like to refer you to 152.5 as to the question of textual changes. The wording that was used from here around the wage gap with Australia being the fundamental purpose of his government relates to a comment from the Prime Minister. And so the question I have is whether his government can then be part of a question to the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Broadcasting, or any of the other junior ministers, or whether, and I know there's implicit criticism of you here, sir, because it's your office that is responsible for it, should it have been the Prime Minister's government?
I think the member raises a perfectly fair point that in the transfer of questions between ministers, it is important to try and make sure the text is adjusted accordingly, and my office does endeavour to try and do that correctly, and every now and then, as the member points out right now, that it's arguable that has not been achieved with this question. I apologise to the member for that, but I think the question does have to be asked the way it is now, but every care will be taken in the future to try and make sure that doesn't happen. Question number 5, the Honourable David Park.
Number 6.
I beg your pardon, number 6, indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question's to the Minister of Finance.